A master of manipulation will often use irrational logic to confuse the issue.
Never.
Or strike a deal with a superior opponent to get what they want. Does this sound familiar? If so, you are probably the parent of a young child or a teenager.
Yes. Joining us now, Dr. David Swanson is the author. He is of a brand new book. It's called Help My Kid is Driving Me Crazy, the 17 Ways Kids Manipulate Their Parents and What You Can Do About It.
How did you narrow it down to 17?
I thought of them all. I tried them all when I was a kid, like we all did.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I've got 3 boys, and they use them all on me. And I've even asked some of my teenage clients if they could figure out any others that aren't on the list. There's only 17.
Really?
That's it. So good luck for us, right?
Yeah, but you say the key here is the temperament of the child, right?
Well, that has a lot to do, with how you structure your home. So in the beginning of this book, what I do is I tell you how to respond to each manipulation strategy as it's taking place. And at the end of the book, I tell you, now that you're reacting, let's be proactive and set up an environment at home so you don't get as much of that later on.
What are some of the temperaments that parents are dealing with children?
There's the impulsive child, who is, a lot of us know this kid is kind of the ADD child, tends to act before he thinks. I call him, he has a case of the shuns. So if you divide his life up into 2 halves, you got those things that are obligations and those things that are passions. And if it's a passion, he'll have a hard time delaying gratification. If it's an obligation, he'll use procrastination and rationalization.
Gosh,
so you have a hard time.
I fit in there.
Yeah.
Don't we all, right? So how do you handle a child like that?
This is a child where you really need a lot of structure at home, and you have to put the passion behind the obligation. So you want to go out and play, you need to do your homework first. You want to, I don't know, you want to watch a movie, you got to brush your teeth before bed first, things like that. So it's always putting the passion behind the obligation.
But isn't it sometimes, and they even say this like for dogs and the pets, we don't train the pet, we train the owner. It's it's so hard for us to carry out these disciplines because it's so much. I'm not saying Go
ahead, fess up.
I'm not saying I raise my kids like my animals. No, but you know what I mean. It's like easier. The kid goes, I don't want to do my homework, I don't want to, and it's so easy just to give in.
Yeah, Mark, that's a great point, because you get so many kids who you'll steamrolling, and those are the parents who are overwhelmed and exhausted. They just don't want to deal with it, so they give in. Or you get the parent who they feel so guilty because they don't want to set a limit and see their kid upset. So these kids will use emotional blackmail, or they'll play the victim.
How do they learn this stuff, though?
I think it's intuitive.
Really?
Yeah.
We're born with that?
I mean, parents will know that the child will try one thing with one parent and try something else with the other. So it's intuitive, and it is all, but your kids know you better than you do. So that's what it boils down to. Good point.
So how do you talk to your child about behaving badly? How do you talk to your child about behaving badly?
I didn't ask that question. She had a flashback to the conversation. I could just see.
Yeah. When I wrote this book with the title, The 17 Ways Kids Manipulate and What You Can Do About It, I got 2 responses. One response was, I need to get that book. And the other response was, what do you mean they manipulate? Almost as if manipulation meant that they were lacking in moral character. Not the case. Kids want what they want. They have a very difficult time waiting for it. I call it the I win mentality. I want it now. So the talk we have with our kids is about patience and waiting to get what you want, or having to earn it. At that point, we let them know what they're doing, we label it, and we call them on it. And there's a lot of strategies in this book as to how you're going to deal with it in the moment as well as in the future. And
you were talking about the terrible 2s, terrible 3s. Are there sort of peaks and valleys, or one has to be vigilant all the time?
18 years.
That's right. Well, I've heard there's a huge shift from a lot of parents, and of course I'm going through that now as well. When they're younger, it's very physical. You're keeping up. You're telling me earlier that your son's, your child's, throwing the phone on the ground, things like that. You're always up out of the chair and after them. And as they get older, it's much more emotional because they're driving, they're going on dates, and that's really hard for us to deal with. So it does change in that way.
What about boys and girls? You have your son, your daughter, they do things differently.
Yeah.
What is the difference when dealing with
boys tend to act out more. So you get a lot more confrontation and protest, a lot more yelling or punishment. This is a good one, punishment. You didn't give me what I want, I'm going to even the score, right? So you're going to pay a price for it. Where girls tend to internalize a little bit more. You see this in the practice where they might play the victim more, emotional blackmail, shut down, things like that. So there's a difference there.
Oh, yes,
the phrase, because I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and I've always heard this, quote unquote, that girls are easier early, but just you wait.
Yeah.
And then boys are easier later.
Yeah, I see this in my practice as well. So boys, they're pretty out there. You know what you're getting because they just put it out there on display. girls, you know, something happens and you're still paying the price, maybe.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny we take this into adulthood a lot?
Yes, we do. This could be a lesson, not for the kid, but for us, all of us here. Can you leave a book for each one of us?
You've all got them. And, you know, the funny thing is, one of the mothers who read this book, she told me, you know, I don't know about my kids, but I definitely can use it on my husband.
Yeah,
right?
How funny.
You know, Doctor, you've struck a much deeper chord than perhaps you ever intended to.
You can meet the good Dr. David Swanson at a book signing tonight, Barnes & Noble on Ventura Boulevard in Encino. For more information on the book, Help My Kid Is Driving Me Crazy, go to KTLA.com. Thank you, Doctor.
Great information.
Thank you.
Great fun, guys. Really fun.
Thank you.